Yeah, sorry. I'll just do that now.
I'll put it in. You can drop it in general. I'll put it into going live.
General, as in.
We're live, by the way. Oh.
Oh, I see. I have to fix my Twitter profile because it has the old link. I'm hearing feedback. Is that? Why am I hearing feedback?
Better. Yeah. I had an extra tab up.
Oh, okay. I was like, I keep hearing my own voice, and I was, it sucks. I can't believe people actually sit here and listen to me. Yeah. Okay. So, right. I'll post that we're live.
What's up, Alpha? Hey, Connor Greg. Yeah, we try to time when we do Wednesdays. We try to time it so the streams kind of stack up. But I appreciate you guys joining. Trinix.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming up. Thank you.
Jay, what's up, man?
Wow, Alpha, thank you.
Yeah, Alpha, appreciate the gift sub.
All right, let's get that. And XYZ time. And did you put it already? Yeah, okay. I'll do it.
You're not going to argue.
What's that?
Just say hey. Bars, appreciate the sub, man.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Hey, Rob. What's going on?
Hey, it's Rob. Yeah, I did, Jag. Sorry, man. I meant to reach out to you today. I will after the stream. But anyway, guys, sorry. We were supposed to have BG on tonight to talk about the speed stuff. He had kind of a work emergency and isn't going to be able to make it today. So we are still going to go over some of the stuff that we found. I was reading the Alpha's comment. Got my wires mixed. We're still going to go over some of the stuff that we found, but it's not going to be in full detail. It's just going to be kind of some observations that we had based on how racing has gone with fatigue, and kind of we're going to keep an open mind to it because there's still a lot of things that we want to look into about this. And we're also still waiting to see if the new fatigue changes kind of fix or adjust what we're seeing. Yeah, some yeah, just the tip. That's right. It's the best part. Anyway,
so yeah, or go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, like, I think that the stream tonight is going to be pretty exciting in terms of, I think, being able to announce some pretty cool stuff we're doing with Rob, and just kind of having a nice hangout tonight and talking horses and some of the changes that are being made with ZED. So, changes, updates, I guess. And yeah, did you want to say anything, Dave?
No, I think that's right. I mean, we teased it in the title and a little bit in our tweets, but we're going to talk about speed a little bit. We're going to talk about stamina and some of the things that we've seen over the last couple of days, which even though racing has been a little frustrating, I think everything we've seen is pretty positive. So talk a little bit about that. And then obviously the main thing tonight is having Rob on to talk about some of the stuff that he's working on, and walk through some of that with you guys. Talk about how his involvement with our community, and then the giveaway toward the end of the stream. So the one thing there is we announced it in our tweets, but just with the site Rob is building out, he's going to do. I'm going to talk through a little bit of this. We're going to jump the gun and then come back to some of the other content. Lucky, appreciate the sub, man.
Hey, thank you. Really appreciate that.
So he's going to have giveaways and other deals and things that he's going to kind of run through his site, which we'll walk through later. But for the giveaway this evening, you can find the link to the giveaway on his site. And he asked for an email address there so that he can send you kind of marketing emails for deals that he's going to offer and things like that, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. And then your Twitter handle so that you can sign up for the giveaway and we can match that. So check out our tweets earlier, or CJ, I don't know if you want to drop the giveaway link in.
Yeah, I'll drop that down right now. Just give me 1 second.
So we'll drop that, but go ahead and sign up. And
wow. Thanks, Ice. Hype. That's just what it says. I don't even know what that means.
Oh, there we go, Rob. Yeah, appreciate it.
I'm a boomer.
So use that link to sign up. We'll talk a lot more about that later. And so CJ, with that, I think you want to talk a little bit about speed. I'll pull up my screen and we can.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I think most people here know that I'm not really, or we are not really like big speed guys. I think that we've kind of expressed before our opinion on how much speed matters and how much we look at it in terms of maybe like a first order statistic. I think that we've said many times before that one of the biggest issues with speed and time is just the amount of noise that there is, and not really knowing how the times and speed are generated. So we have some theories, and I don't know if we're really going to touch on them tonight because we still want to investigate a few things further. But one thing I do is we still try to be open-minded about everything, because at the end of the day, kind of our philosophy is to kind of take all the information that we can and then go through it, come to a consensus, and then like release it to everybody else so that we can have a broader discussion, educate people on the game. So basically, that's a long way of saying that what I had noticed post-fatigue, once they implemented it, was I started having a bunch of bred horses and new horses, and I was running them, and they were getting fire, and they were winning, and they were losing, and they showed all the signs of high variance in terms of their placements and their fire patterns. But when I looked at their times, because a few of them I got for very cheap, and I was kind of confused about why they're being let go. And I noticed that when they were winning, they were about 1 second from the mean time of the whole population. And when they were losing, they're about 1 second from the mean time. And typically that range of about 2 is not really indicative of high variance, right? So I started looking into it a little bit more, and I noticed that almost all of my horses were following the same pattern, even the established ones. So the horses that I did know were proven performers and high variance. All of them were running slower and when they were winning, and all of them were running faster when they were losing. So we brought this up in our kind of like inner circle chat, and then we had a few other people notice the same thing about their horses, and then not only just their horses, but some of the bigger horses in the game. One of the ones that we used as an example was the Crimson Chin. His finish times at 1,000 became super consistent, and none of them were like as fast as you would expect based on the previous history. So we went to BG and we were like, we noticed this was happening. Is there any way to pull like the times and kind of like see what's going on? So he ended up generating this chart or this graph, And I'll just explain it quickly. So you can see basically these are like, it starts from week 1, which is like when racing started, and it goes all the way down to what we have currently, right? Now, this was before breeding. So these are kind of like the ranges of times, and you can see that it's a box and whisker chart. So the range goes from, I believe that the right side is the low times and or is the slowest times, and the left side is the fastest times.
Yep.
And then I don't know if you wanted to explain any of this, David, like the what you're talking about with the interquartile ranges.
Yeah, no, go ahead and I'll jump in.
Okay, so then what you notice is like, it kind of goes up and down in terms of speed, and you kind of expect it to look relatively static since breeding was not open yet, so the population didn't really change a whole lot. So these are all kind of like the same horses running over and over again. You might have a slightly faster week or a slightly slower week, but you can actually see the bottom times remain relatively consistent throughout. But as you scroll down,
Yep.
you can see like once breeding hits and you get like really high variance kicking in, you have these, some races are really, really fast and some are slow, and like it all kind of shifts with like the influx of more high variance horses.
Yeah, so I think that's key. So here you see this week is kind of the week of the year. So you're starting, January 1st, and then you're running forward. And so week 16 was when breeding opened up. And so you see a huge expansion of times that you're seeing. And then, you kind of see that continue. And as CJ was saying, the yellow and purple boxes are representative of your quartiles, right? So this is the top 25% is above and bottom 25% is below. And so you have 50% of your population in here. And then you have, I believe, your median is what this value is in the middle. And so you see all the way through, even when you have a huge change in the min and the max time, your top and bottom percentages, or your kind of middle 50% stays about the same. Expands a little bit in some of these weeks. But then,
yeah, and so this is kind of like the really interesting thing is that this is when fatigue hit, was week 36, I believe. And you can see that the times contract significantly. And we're not talking about like slightly smaller times, like everything got, slower at the top end, faster. And actually that's the part that really kind of like caught my eye, was that even the finishing times for losing horses got faster. So it's not just like horses are running slower, it's the actual range that they're running seems to be way smaller. So, I mean, what it looks like is there's something going on variance, right? And so, I mean, like it's a really, really big shift. So basically this is all to say that like, so NJ, if that were the case, I think you would probably see it would be more erratic over the 4 weeks. So it would be like, it wouldn't look, it wouldn't have such a clear pattern over 4 straight weeks of racing. You would still see like, those really odd races, because this is all races, right? So like you have and at first we were like, okay, well maybe it's because fatigue is just affecting horses this way. And then, so this is when we started looking at, okay, well, races versus at 100% fatigue versus any fatigue, right? Like, and what does that mean? But I think what you're seeing is just that, like, in theory, you still have all these horses, or a lot of horses, running at 100% fatigue or stamina very often, but the times are still extremely slow at the top end and like relatively fast at the bottom end compared to what it has historically been. And the other thing that we kind of noticed is that high variance horses are actually winning more at 100% stamina than they used to. So like when so what we were trying to figure out is why is this happening? And you know, we have a few theories, and we're not going to go too deep into them right now because I think we have 3 different theories that we're looking at, and we're not really 100% sure what one we kind of want to go with. And there's a little bit of internal debate. So we just kind of wanted to present this because we want to know what other people think kind of is happening here. And, you know, to me, especially since now that we're looking at, and David, if you want to bring up the other graph.
Yeah, before we do that, Tsunami, really appreciate the 10 gift subs, man.
Oh shit! Thank you, man.
Yeah, sorry we didn't call that out earlier, but really
I didn't even see it because I can't see it from StreamYard. So.
Yeah. So, CJ, to your point, you know, I think we've talked about the impact of fatigue. I think we talked about, you know, fewer horses running, and we kind of talked about how those factors might work together. But the fact of the matter is, you know, we just are not sure. We just wanted to kind of present this to everybody watching us and say, hey, this is something we noticed. We're still digging into it. We're still kind of working through what this looks like. And especially with the new stamina system that got launched this week, which we've all been waiting for, and we've had a few hiccups here and there this week, but looks like it's going to be a really good thing. We want to see how that impacts this chart and how that impacts kind of what these times look like. So again, we're not big speed people. We're not big kind of time watchers, but we noticed enough of an effect that we wanted to call that out. And again, go ahead.
I was just going to say to Dirt Dog, as much as there is less individual rolls of the dice, you're still looking at a very large sample of races across like the entire population of horses. So for I don't know that they significantly dropped. There's definitely less races, but
it's not to the point of
it's not to the point where the sample size would cause this kind of pattern. You would still see outlier races where, because since this is every time, there would still be like, you know, at least one that is much faster than what you would expect to see here if it was just like because of the sample size. So there's something else going on for sure. We're just not exactly sure what yet. And that's why we kind of like, we're remaining open-minded. We want to kind of see like what the effect looks like once we get a larger sample from the new fatigue update, and if it changes anything, or if this is like an actual change that is, well, anyway, we're gonna, and sorry,
CJ, the other thing that I just thought of was free races. I think we're pretty sure this is only paid races, but we need to go back and double check.
It's only paid races. Yeah.
So, okay. So never mind. That has nothing to do with this.
And this is the other reason why I think that it's not just a sample size thing, is that what we ended up doing is, or what BG ended up doing was putting together data, and he kind of created a variable to track when a horse was running at 100% stamina, and then he also was tracking high variance horses. So this kind of shows the performance of high variance horses at 100% stamina, and then with any stamina loss, and so on and so forth. And what we're actually seeing is that, because we also have the pre-fatigue chart or pre-fatigue graph with the same information, and what we're seeing is that high variance horses are actually winning more at 100 stamina than they were before stamina was introduced. And this is like, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense for what we're seeing with the times, because you would expect, especially if high variance horses are winning more and this is like a performance thing, then their times should still be the same. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of it's a really interesting thing that we're seeing. So that all of that to say is that like I was looking at these horses and I was like, even though I'm not a big speed guy, I'm not a big time guy, I do know that even in class 5, class 4, whatever class you're in, if you're typically winning a lot and you're a strong horse, you will have fast times. If you lose a lot, you will have slow times. And those patterns kind of form over time. And all of my horses were like looking like complete donkeys because they all looked like they had no variance or no deviation. So all I'm trying to say is don't just assume your horse is a donkey because it's running slower or running faster or running faster when it's losing right now, because it seems to be a global change to all horses. All like, even if you look at the monster horses, I think I was looking at Marajo, and he has not run faster than 2 seconds slower than his fastest ever time since fatigue was introduced. And he's won a ton of races. So, or she, I should say. It's affecting all horses, like monster horses, like regular horses. We're seeing some other patterns emerge, like lower variance horses are winning more. It seems. It's just there's some weird stuff. Like, I shouldn't say weird stuff, but there seems to be a shift in the way that the racing is working.
It's right, but it's important to say we're not noticing, other than some different things with high variance horses that we're trying to identify. We're not noticing, significant changes in performance. It's just,
right.
We've noticed this thing with times, and we're trying to figure out how that kind of impacts the ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and sorry, I should clarify that there doesn't seem to be a change in performance, except some horses actually seem to be winning more often at specific like stamina marks, and like that could easily or potentially be explained by running against more lower stamina horses. Right. We don't really know, but it's something that we're looking into, and it's just really interesting. So all I was hoping to bring to light was that if you have a horse that's running slower, don't necessarily give up on it right away, and try and do a little bit more investigation.
Not that we believe in times anyway. So
no, and that's just it. But I know that there are a lot of people do follow times and speed to try and determine things, especially, if they're not getting placements or if they're getting fire and whatever.
But it's even more important to compare the results and try to benchmark your horses and look at kind of who you're running against.
Exactly.
Just depending on the raw numbers.
Yeah. So look at strength of competition, look at placements, and look at fire. And if those things are all there, even if you're running slow or fast right now, don't worry. I mean, I would be very surprised if this changes, because I mean, I have a couple of theories as to why this is happening. And I don't think that it's going to, personally, I'm just making the prediction that it's not going to change in the data that we see in the next couple of weeks. But it's going to be really interesting to track and try and figure out why this is happening.
Right. And if it doesn't, then that means that, stamina or fatigue wasn't having a heavy impact, right? So it's something.
And then there must be some other change, whether, it's race related or horse related or fatigue related, whatever it is, something larger happened than just horses running slow. Because the thing is, like, that when horses are running with a high amount of fatigue, they lose more. So you would expect that they would run slower, but that's not happening, right? Like, we actually see that the slowest races are still faster than the slowest races pre-fatigue.
And even that middle 25% below the median is tighter and faster, right? So
yeah. So I mean, yeah. Anyway, it's an interesting thing to look at, and if anybody here wants to take a look at it, and open up a discussion with us if they have any theories, we would love to discuss it with you.
Yeah. Hey, Darthside, appreciate
it. Darthside. Yeah, thanks, man.
But yeah, we can definitely come back to it if people have questions. But I guess Koenigreich said before, perhaps ZED are tweaking time to be more consistent, true, realistic for third party. Maybe again, we're not in a position to. We are in a position to speculate, but we're not going to do it on stream tonight. Exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Again, we just wanted to get this out there, talk about the data a little bit, identify some things that we're seeing, and that could very well make sense. Entertainment value, the visuals are there for entertainment. It depends on who you ask on the ZED team whether the visuals matter, and I definitely don't want to get into that tonight. But that is one thing that we're talking.
Finish times, MJ.
Yeah.
Finish times and no normalization. Actually, really interesting stuff happens with normalization when we. Anyway, I'm not. That's going to be a broader discussion that we have when BG is on, because he's much better at explaining his graphs than we are. We just.
I wanted to. I noticed this, Andrew. I don't know if that's the case. Again, because the ranges are tighter, and we haven't seen other than a few kind of weird things going on with high variance horses. We haven't seen a significant shift in the results that the expected results. Again, other than a couple things that we're digging into. So I don't. Again, we don't think this has necessarily changed how horses are running or how horses are stacked up against. But again, that we have to do more research there. So I don't think, even though the finish times have changed drastically when you're looking at that original chart, it doesn't necessarily mean that horse performance has changed. So we don't want to give anybody that, or comparative performance between horses has changed, we should say. So
yeah, what we still need to add to this is just that there's a lot we still don't know about what's going on, and it's just, this is kind of like a signal that we need to do more investigation, and if it can be kind of brought to the broader community and have more people looking into it, we can kind of figure it out faster. And like I said, we do have our theories about what's going on, but until we have any kind of concrete evidence to support any of those theories, we don't want to just kind of speculate without any evidence. And that's the biggest thing for me for me personally, is that we don't like to put theories and ideas out there that we don't have any kind of at least decent amount of evidence for. We might have different opinions on what our evidence is showing, but we still want to have that data available for that information.
Yep.
So, did you want to move on to the Rob's site?
Yeah. Do we want to talk for 5 minutes about stamina and just?
Oh yeah.
What we've seen.
I think that's a good idea with the update that was just done.
So yeah, as you guys have seen, we had a big update on Monday. Hasn't gone as smoothly as we might like, obviously, but
nonsense.
When we are able to get into races, they've made some significant quality of life changes. You're able to see percentages on the site. They've kind of marked different levels of stamina, which is great. And the biggest thing we've seen, especially today, is significantly increased communication, which both of us, that's a super positive thing, across the board. Hey, Try Guy. So, I think generally we've seen a positive shift. We've seen horses coming back into the game that we haven't seen for a couple months. Which, that's less positive for some horses, and more but it's generally a good thing to see racers coming back. There has been a little bit of a step down. I don't have the numbers to show tonight like we have the last couple weeks, but we will in our upcoming streams kind of update the numbers. We have seen a slight step down in the number of races that are popping up.
Although I think it was BG showed a chart yesterday that I think it was the middle of the night when last night, when was it last night or Monday night? Either way, whenever the site was actually functioning properly with the new stamina changes, there was more races in a 4-hour period than had ever been run on ZED before. So like that's a huge positive. It kind of shows us that like people are dying to race. People want to race. It's like once this is all smoothed out, we're probably going to see more races than we've ever seen. And that's a big positive for ZED, because that shows like people are still engaged, right? Like you see a lot of FUD, you see a lot of people getting upset. And I'm not saying that there isn't any kind of, that's not justified. Of course, all of us are frustrated at different things at different times. But I think it's also important to remember that in the grand scheme of things, ZED is still very young, and ZED is still working in a space that is really new, right? So there's going to be hiccups, there's going to be problems. They've shown time and time again that, I mean, yes, they probably need some better quality control. They needed to have better communication faster, but at least they're working on that. And the communication that they've had today has been above and beyond anything we've seen from them before. So hopefully they're taking it more seriously, and they seem to be. And they are working on these things to try and, you know, improve the quality of life of the game. Right now, if they can get their site stability to be where it needs to be, this is going to be basically the best that ZED has ever been, right?
Or even where it was when we had 30-second queues, right? I mean, it helped that people couldn't enter races continuously when we had those queues, but you know, we were running over 3,000 races a day. Retro, very interesting. Yeah, sorry we couldn't check out your stream tonight, but interesting.
Yeah, I was doing
have a bunch of open topics. That's a good sign too. So, and we talked a little bit about last stream, you know, all the hires and all of the kind of team building that they've been doing. It takes time to get people up to speed, and it takes time to get, you know, get people knowledgeable enough to go interact or go do things. I mean, training takes time. So they've communicated some of the hires, they've communicated some of the big hires that they've made, and it's good to hear. I didn't even think to check job recs or openings. That's a good sign too, that they're continuing to, you know, spend the money that's been invested to build out the team. And
and they're expanding, right? And they're building out the platform, and I think it's just important to have some patience, because, you know, this is like, it does feel like it's been forever. Like even for me, I feel like I can't even remember what my life was like before ZED at this point. But then I look back and it's like, it's been 3 months, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not actually that long, and they've come so far. Like when I first joined, there was less than 10,000 stables, I'm pretty sure. We're up over 30,000 stables. We're over 100,000 people in the Discord. Like ZED is continually growing, and so people would like to focus on the floor and sales and stuff, but like those things come naturally with some of the issues that we've been having, right? Like people are not going to be buying great racers. They're not going to spend a lot on horses when things are not working properly, or when we're going through some adjustments. Man, Rob, like I you know, I always joke about how I would have loved to be around when, you know, you were buying your Nakamoto Genesis for a couple $100 or something, and I think about it and I'm like, I don't think I would have had the discipline that you've had to hold on to them for that long. Like if they got to $10,000, I'd be like, yeah, I'm selling these, because, you know, it's so I think like a lot of the OGs that have been able to hold on to those things and have stuck with ZED for 2.5 years. Yeah, exactly. Diamond Hands. Like they deserve a lot more credit than they get, because like a lot of people will just be like, oh yeah, well, you know, they've been here from when it was super cheap. But it's like most people that, you know, were in Bitcoin at 1 cent or whatever it was, sold a long time before it got to 50,000 or whatever it got to. I don't know. I'm not super plugged into the crypto world right now, but
no, that's right. And that's another good thing to call out, is part of the reason that we're talking about the environment right now, the changes to the ecosystem we've seen, the updates that we've seen, is, you know, the market has been in a bad place the last couple of weeks. We see legendaries dropping, we see Genesis dropping, Genesis floors. You know, Genesis not as bad as a lot of the bred horses, but a lot of that was driven by racing and kind of an artificial demand flattening or demand decrease for racers or for horses across the board. We've seen, continuous growth in the Discord, and we hit 100,000 in the Discord either this week or late last week. So another big milestone there. Exactly. And again, we don't give out financial advice on this stream, but it's all about cycles. Right now we're in a downturn. We've seen crypto start to turn back up again a little bit. And hopefully with the changes to racing, and once the site starts working more smoothly and we get back to 3,000 races or more a day, or even more, 3,000 paid races a day, then that'll increase that demand for racers and for other horses. So on top of the continued growth that we've seen in the numbers. So yeah, it's just, we wanted to, we know we kind of are sometimes Debbie Downer or voice our frustrations, and we wanted to give, for lack of a better phrase, give props where props are kind of due. We're working through frustrations this week with some hiccups with the infrastructure, but the good thing is, and again, they're communicating that. So we kind of know what's going on. They've pushed some updates today, and things seem to be working a little more smoothly. And we wanted to call that out. So
yeah, I think I think that's just one of the things that's important to remember, is that, like, I think it's important to be able to give constructive criticism and complain to an extent when things are not where they should be or where we feel they should be. But you also have to be able to go the other way and appreciate the things that ZED does when they do them right, and when they make changes specifically for the community, and they hear what we're saying, and they're working hard because they want us to be happy too, right? Like, we're their customers, and we're the people that, they are working for. But we're the people that they want to have a good experience using their product. So they're still they're gonna make mistakes 100%. Like, I think, like, especially with technology this new, and with this environment being so new, and coming from a small team, like, people forget, like, they had a really small team to start with, and they did a lot with just that team. They're still bringing in new people. So I'm very dead positive. I think that it's going to be great. I think that there's going to be hiccups. There's going to be, as Rob said, there's going to be peaks and valleys, or troughs, whatever, whatever the expression is down under. But yeah, I think that a lot positivity can also go a long way. So
yeah. So
with that,
I think, are we ready to shift gears a little bit?
Yeah, I'm ready to shift gears. I think talking too much nice about ZED means we gotta shift gears. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we want to.
So you've seen Sharkyrob floating around chat. He's joined our Twitch every once in a while and spoken up every now and then. But you've seen him commenting a little bit, and we announced on Twitch earlier the giveaway that he and his stable are sponsoring. And so tonight we wanted to pull him up, but first talk a little bit about some of the things that he's building. And those of you who are part of our Discord, he's a key part of our community. He's not as active as some of us in Discord, but he definitely talks about horses that he's breeding, and horses that he has for sale, and other things that he's seeing. Participates when he can, like we all do. I mean, we all have our day job, right? So but yeah, so CJ, I don't know, while I'm pulling this up, I don't know if you want to kind of give a little bit more of an intro.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sharkyrob's actually, like, fairly well known, even outside of, like, the XYZ community. he's been in the game for a really long time, and I think that we're going to try and talk to him a little bit of what that's like. It's nice to get the perspective of someone that has been in ZED for a really long time and has gone through a lot of these, ups and downs that they've had. Yeah, we would love for you to come into the studio, Rob, if you want to come on and talk. And I met Rob because I was looking for a good deal on some horses, and he's always been really easy to work with. We're going to pull up his site. We're going to get him on the stream and just kind of have a little chat with him and kind of go through what his site. Hey, Rob.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, guys. What's up?
What's going on?
Much. How are you?
Yeah, I couldn't sit back and listen to you talking about me without coming in.
Yeah.
No, we appreciate that. So, Rob, I mean, I think since you jumped on, we've pulled up your site and we have it kind of showing. I think it's something you've launched pretty recently, and you've done a little bit of rebranding. But do you want to talk through kind of that process and what you're looking to do?
Yeah, thanks, guys. Can I just say I've been around this space. I mean, you said I'm an OG. I came in March 2019. I was introduced to the ZED team here in Sydney. So I actually met the guy. I got inspired by the vision. I had a beer with Chris and Rob and Jeff in one of the bars, and they were talking about this metaverse. They were talking about horses being the core element of this vision they had of friends and mates coming together and having a great time all around horse racing. And it really inspired me. It's not something I'm particularly into in the meat space, in the real world. But I'm a blockchain consultant, and I kind of got the true ownership aspects of these horses, and we forget that no one was talking about NFTs 3 years ago. I mean, no one,
true.
other than very cliquey, geeky corners.
Yeah.
But now everyone's talking about NFTs, and ZED is way ahead of pretty much all the other competition, because NFTs for the majority of the market are still just pixelated JPEGs.
Right.
It's crazy to me how the market has exploded basically with pictures that give you other pictures that you can sell to people, right? It's just
and this is where we were in March 2019. For those who were around then, I got in the first day of the Z2 drop, so I missed all the Z1s, but I got in them at the first day of Z2, and I've got a bit of a compulsive collector's mentality. And all they had to do was say, this color is super rare and this one is common. So of course, everyone who was there at the time was just crazily flicking through all the horses, and basically you just rotated through them and bought whichever one you liked. So everyone was going for the super rares. They were trying to collect sets. There was horse trading going on, sort of peer to peer. It was because the only game then was the collectability. It was the collector's cards kind of thing. And just because you had if you had a Z1, because you'd been in from the beginning, just a week or two before I came in, you were still able to kind of trade 2 or 3 Z2s for every Z1. So that 2 or 3 ratio between each of the Genesis Z levels was actually formed way back then, because everyone recognized that you never have it. If you have a Z1, you can't breed a Z1, right? So Z2s you can breed legendaries from Z1s, but Z1 is the true OG of this space.
Yeah,
right.
And it was recognized then. So we had to wait. We had to wait a long time for racing. I was lucky enough to get into the beta racing. It was all 2D at the time, so we were checking out the colored dots running up and down running up a straight track from overhead. And that really got people excited, because all of a sudden they could do something with these pretty painted ponies. And then it went quiet again, and so this roller coaster of working with the ZED team, and even I meet up with them from time to time and have a beer when we're allowed to, when we're not in lockdown, and it's been a roller coaster. All those airdrops, all the different attempts at doing different things. The demand was crazy, and the team was still on a shoestring. I mean, as far as I know, none of the team actually were able to have their own ZED horses. So this was all self-funded. They weren't actually making money out of it until they started getting proper investors into the team to build the team. So, I think what they've done is remarkable. And going back to what I said about the NFT craze right now, you've got they're years behind. Knowing what ZED have been through and what they've had to build. Everyone's talking about metaverses now, but it's hard. Blockchain development is hard. So they've had a distributed team. They've delivered pretty much on as they've promised. And I'm super excited about the future. They're scaling the team now with that
with the investment.
That investment. Andreessen and Horowitz are not stupid investors. They're getting Unicorn in early and getting Andreessen and Horowitz in now. They see the potential for this. And
I mean, they put what in 100 million to OpenSea, something like that. So it's they're a big name in the space. They're dropping a lot of money into crypto, and they don't tend to get involved with things that they don't believe in, or things that they think have a ton of risk or don't have a ton of upside. So
So I'm very, very bullish about this.
And I think one thing too that, and someone just mentioned that this needs to kind of be a standalone story. I 100% agree that we need to clip this, because I think what you're doing right now is providing a lot of perspective, because I think a lot of us came in during the hype phase of when ZED has actually reached a point where it has utility and people are buying horses for crazy amounts of money. And, they haven't really been through the whole development process, and they haven't been there for like 2 years while it starts from nothing and comes up, while, people, like you're saying, people weren't even talking about NFTs 2 years ago. Like ZED is and this is something that, people have talked about a little bit in our Discord, where they're like worried and stuff like that. And I'm saying, like, let's just say in the absolute worst case, ZED did drop the ball and they started to fall apart and didn't deliver on the things that they are going to. I believe they're going to, but like, let's just say worst case scenario, they're still so far ahead of any competitor right now that they could do that and then pick the ball back up again, and they would still be, way ahead of any other competitor. There's like, I don't think they get enough credit for just how far they've come in such a short time.
Yeah, it's true, and it's easy to criticize when all the little bumps in the road kind of create problems. But if you zoom out, it's the same with any kind of crypto market. All you need to do is to zoom out to the point where actually the curve looks great again. And you're happy.
When things look really bad, just take a little step back, take a breath.
If you're looking at the 15-minute view, then you
exactly redraw the trend line, right? Take a start point and take a look at that. Yeah, no, it's we talked a little bit about that.
I wanted to set the context for why I'm still in it after so long. And I was lucky enough to get in really early. I've got a big stable. I love the breeding side of the game, and what I want to do is to kind of engage with the community and just not try and gouge it, but just provide fair deals, great offers, and inspire people to come into it. I've been I love what they're doing with the what's it called? The one in the Philippines on the play to earn side. What Aloha Tim's the Yield Guild.
Yield Guild. Okay.
Yeah, the Yield Guild are doing some great stuff. So I'm kind of going to be donating horses into that. But I want to
Oh, wow.
I want to help the community kind of access some horses and some DNA and blood that they might not otherwise be able to get to.
Right.
Yeah, and that's part of, like, what brings us to this, stream and the giveaway. And I think, you've always been like really good to us personally, but I think that maybe a lot of the newer people in the space don't necessarily know about you, don't necessarily realize, like, if they've gotten a good deal on the market for, say, a legendary Zabo or a Nakamoto, it most likely has come from your stable. And hopefully what we're kind of hoping to do here is have some kind of collaboration between Rob and the XYZ team in where we can offer benefits to our community in terms of discounts, in terms of potential studs, in terms of giveaways, like the one we're doing today. And at the same time, kind of like immerse Rob in the community and like have people, drive some traffic to his site and kind of see, like some of the things that we're going to build out from there, like articles and so on. I believe that's kind of like the overall goal.
That's right. Yeah. So I mean, I think, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. So, Rob, do you want to kind of jump in and talk a little bit about your goal with the site? Kind of give a 2-minute walkthrough.
I don't race much, but I'm a data geek, so I really love what you guys are doing in terms of the analysis and the service you're providing to the community with your
thank you.
what you do, and you give yourselves tirelessly to that. So I figured that I'd probably do the same, and kind of by hooking up with you and helping out with the little bit that I can do. And so, but I'm super frustrated with OpenSea. If you've got a CryptoPunk, then you can differentiate one from the other. But if you've got two aggressive Azure horses, you don't know whether it's an exclusive ZED, 256 or a Z1. So I wanted to put a shop window on top of it so that we could differentiate one from the other. I know it doesn't affect racing, but I actually like the colors, and I like the fact that the collectability of the colors and that one horse is different from another. And I want to be able to not just in colors, maybe in parentage and lineage, in potential, and performance of offspring.
Right.
So I built a website to provide that shop window. It's just passes through to OpenSea at the moment. But we'll do, and we link to Know Your Horses, and we link to HawkU, so all the great community services that we know and love, and then just try and provide this shop window initially for our horses, but potentially in the future other stables as well.
Yeah, no, this is, and honestly, like, I know that you just kind of started they just opened the site, really. It looks great. And more to what you're saying, it absolutely is kind of tragic that OpenSea doesn't have a better way of looking at some of these things, right? And I know that they used to have more information and that they removed it. But this, like, to me, if I look at this and I see, it's, unnamed, unraced, unbred, but you kind of see a lot more information about it. And with your options of looking at it on ZED or Haku or Know Your Horses and stuff, you can look into it a little bit more. And I mean, I guess I just think it's really visually pleasing to kind of like look at a site like this, and it's kind of cool to be able to kind of select your horses this way.
Yeah.
Thank you. So what I want to do next is, or what we're currently building is a way of looking at the breeding stable as well. This is just sales and marketplace, but looking at the breeding stable, pairing horses, seeing what that might do in terms of the performance of the offspring, providing leaderboards for stallions and mares and the foals that have come out of the stables. So this is where you guys are coming in and providing me with some tools to work with.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of almost where we initially started off with your site, was we kind of like talked about the leaderboard and maybe providing some metrics that would kind of help define the performance of some of your breeders, especially since a lot of them, or I think all of them, are unraced. You kind of have to dig into the data a lot to kind of get like a relative perspective of what they've been able to do. And so it's going to be fun to put that together and kind of help, give that information out.
And so at a high level, Rob, you've kind of talked about it, but you've kind of got your sales page where you line up, I think a few Genesis are on there, but a lot of your legendaries, a lot of rare coats.
So here's the thing about, the ratio of 3-to-1 means that if you've got a balanced stable of mares and stallions, 2/3 of your stallions aren't going to get used every month.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start, I think, from the bottom up, selling off some of the colts who aren't doing anything. I think other people can better use them. But in general, I'm going to be holding on to the Genesis horses because I think they're the ones that are going to hold the value. And the other thing that we don't talk much about is the DES initiative. So when they do the airdrop of all the DES tokens, if they ever do, but let's assume that they're true to their word.
We're crossing our fingers for it. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a real opportunity there for people who hold Genesis horses. So I'd be crazy to kind of get rid of them if I didn't need to. Right.
And so to kind of supplement that, I think you've got your breeding services, which one thing we haven't done on our Discord or built out is some of this information that is pulled from various sources. But this is a great resource as far as kind of beginners knowledge on different things to think about for breeding, right? Talking about genotypes and how breeding happens and what the number is, talking about bloodlines and what the combinations look like. Same thing with breed types. And then Rob, I'm a color guy too, so
blue's the only color, mate. Blue's the only color.
See that I my first couple horses. I'm a Neptune
guy.
What's that?
I'm a Neptune guy.
Yeah.
We've all got our, it's funny that you talk about that because even though we know that coats don't affect the performance of the horses, and we kind of like looked into that data because we look into we try to look into as much data as possible. You still have those camps where it's just like, I could never own or keep a brown horse. I just don't. I like the other colors. They pop so nicely, like midnight black and ghost white, and like especially like the moon and fiery colors are what I love. But like you're a big Neptune guy. Icicles literally will only keep blue horses. It's just kind of a cool aspect of.
I used to own a load of peach puffs, but in those early days when all that horse trading was going on, that's what Lucky Jack targeted. So I got a lot of my aggressive Azures just by trading with Lucky Jack for peach puff.
Okay.
The full set, right?
Yeah, he has a ton of peach puffs.
He does, and I think he's the only one to have it with super rare color. I got close with the aggressive Azures, but Bob the Nailer isn't giving up his Z1s. So, but that's fine, right? It's all part of the game, and I really enjoy that side of it. But I like you, I've actually moved towards the fiery color pyramid. I really like the reds now.
Yeah, they're pretty nice, eh? That's and I mean, like, don't get me wrong, the blue ones are nice.
Yeah, unless it's a random kind of mutation or something, I can't breed them because my main colors are classic in the corn silk and Neptune in the aggressive Azure.
Yeah, so, and you have some moon as well, right?
I have some moon, yeah.
Ghost white.
Great. Well, my very first horse was Ready Player 2, and Ready Player 2 is quite an interesting horse. So. the stronghold ivory, not many people know this, is the most rare of all the colors, more so than slate gray, even though they're
Right.
both rare, because by some aberration, the stronghold ivory didn't breed all the colors in the Nakamoto, so I think you only got 5 Nakamoto stronghold ivory, and all the Z1s are mares. They're all female. So there are only 2 in the whole of Zed Run. There's only 2 stronghold ivory Genesis Nakamoto stallions.
Oh, really?
No, yeah, only 2.
Wow.
And they're both Z2s, and one's called White Dragon, which I tried very, very hard to get and was never able to. And that one's bred like buggery. You know, so White Dragon, the owner of that, breeds him all the time.
Okay.
So I haven't touched Ready Player 2. He's pristine, virginal, and shrink wrapped.
Oh wow, yeah.
So I think that has value, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
it makes it unique. Anyway, so I named my stable Great White because of Ready Player 2, and
okay.
the fact that I'm a Shark fan. So
Yeah.
2 things came together.
So
Sorry, long story, but it was.
No, it's nice. It's nice to hear these kind of like little anecdotes from like your time coming up from the beginning, and kind of the people that you've interacted with, and how things were when it was really just, you know, low Genesis around, right? And not these like thousands of horses. The one thing I wanted to do just before we kind of move on from this is that someone had a question. It's Donkey Kong Dad, and he said that the site looks great. And he wanted to know, when you list a discount on the front page of your site, does that mean a bid at that amount will be accepted on OpenSea?
So what we try and, I mean, it's hard because the APIs and webhooks don't really work very well in either OpenSea or Zed, and tying the 2 sites together is hard. But what we try and do is to make sure that the price on OpenSea is kept in step with the discount price. But what we're going to do is we're going to start doing what I call Flippers Friday. So and Lucky Lowball, the the part of the site that you're showing now with these feature tiles are going to have you know, different offers. So we're going to select the lowest offer or the best offer on a Friday on particular horses. We're going to embrace the flipper, recognizing it's part of the community, and yeah, just generally have a bit of fun and not worry too much about the profit margin. The thing is, I can get, as long as I get a little bit of profit on all the horses, it doesn't matter. I don't need to make, you know, 2 or 3 ETH every time I sell a horse. I just want to. This is the fun part for me. I've got a day job, so this is part of the game for me. And if I can play this role within the ecosystem, then I'm happy.
No, and that's really cool, and that's something too that, like, I remember bringing up when we were talking about you know, what you bring to the community, is that something I find that you do really well is you make horses available at something of an affordable price relative to, say, what maybe the market has traditionally had for, you know, low Z legendaries and some really nice horses. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, thanks. Like I said, it doesn't endear me to a lot of the stable owners who are in it for profit.
Right.
But I figure we don't have enough horses hitting the market to affect the floor. We can sell at floor without actually depressing it. At the moment, you know, it's dropping on its own anyway. But you know, with a shop owner's head on, and I'm not a shop owner, I'm just a tech consultant, but you know, playing the role of a shop owner, it's about turnover, right? And turnover, as long as you're covering your costs, you're good. And if I can play that role and enjoy the game, then you know, other people benefit as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. No, and that, I think kind of tying it back to what we do, the goal is to take the statistical analysis that we're doing and look at, the offspring and try to figure out, baseability as best we can. And that'll be part of what the leaderboard is meant to show. So we're working with you on that. And then that'll kind of back into, some of the sales that you're having or some of the breeding services that you offer will be kind of built around that. So, and then I think as CJ mentioned, our goal is to kind of have some of our breeding content and potentially some other content, articles and things like that posted. This isn't the announcement of a formal partnership or anything like that, but there's a
formal friendship, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and collaboration, right? Like I think we both want, like I think from our perspective and yours, we're doing what we can to help the broader community. And I think that it makes for a natural fit for us to work together. And so I think that's going to be really cool. And I think you mentioned that, and I think this is extremely generous on your part, having deals for XYZ community members and also giveaways in the future targeting the XYZ community. Did you want to talk a little bit more about that? I know that you have one coming up that I'm not sure if you wanted to announce now or like maybe at the end of the stream.
Yeah, no, we could. Yeah, so today's is just really a taster. What I wanted to do was to provide a horse that kind of reflected the stable. So I bred 2 aggressive Azures because that's my color.
Yeah.
I wanted to breed Zabos, but they were all. I was waiting for a reset in 2 or 3 days' time.
Right.
So we've given you a taster, but in a few weeks' time, we've got the Melbourne Cup here in Australia, and the Melbourne Cup's a massive thing in Australia. For those of you who don't know, they're let's just talk about this one then. So it's a Finny absolute zero. It's a lovely color actually. They're quite popular, the absolute zeros, and it's that deep blue color I think people like.
Oh yeah, absolute zero is probably my favorite Neptune color.
Yeah, I like Cosmic Cobalt as well. Do you realize? Do you notice that all the really, really cool colors are common coats? And I think they did that deliberately because it gives a common coat, apart from like you said, the brown ones, which I hate too. But the some of the like cinnamon, satin, and atomic orange. They're really, really cool colors, but they're classed as common. I think
electric violet is probably my favorite common coat.
Fandango. So there's dark Byzantine. I mean, they're brilliant. I'd love to have been around naming them. But anyway, absolute zero for this one. It's a rare coat, and it's born of the 2 beautiful aggressive Azures.
And this is the one we're giving away today, right? This is from the Twitter giveaway that we had put out yesterday. Well, early this morning. I was up way past my bedtime, and so we're giving this one away today, courtesy of Rob, which is obviously a very nice gesture. But
Dark Side actually called me out on this. It is true. It is a failed supercoat. If possible, when I'm breeding, I always go for a supercoat. Just by dint of the fact I love the colors, and we don't know what supercoats mean, but actually, why not try for it? So I've got about 7 or 8 supercoats in corn silk, and
wow.
And
I've got a breeding pair myself. So.
How do we get into that vault?
The ghost white ones come out quite regularly, but I've never got an aggressive Azure yet, so I'll keep trying.
But all this to say is that this is the horse that we were looking through. I think David maybe can go over the specs of it, like the parents and the color. I think, but what we're kind of getting at is you have another kind of like bigger giveaway coming with the Melbourne Cup, right?
Yeah. So because we missed out on the Zabos, what I'm going to do is a Melbourne Cup special, and that's the 2nd of November. I think it coincides with a big racing weekend in the US as well. I think you said. So we'll do this again, but we'll do it with a probably a Z6 turbo, and a blue again.
Yeah, and that's incredible to have a legendary.
I'll take feedback from the community if you want me to breed corn silks and go for the classic, because I think goldenrod is quite a nice color as well. I'm not such a fan of burleywood, but golden silk's quite nice.
Yeah, I mean the classic has some nice colors too, and I think all this to say is that, like, you know, giving away a unraced legendary Zabo is pretty huge, and I think that's going to be really exciting in a few weeks for the community to participate in something like that.
Yeah.
So I guess there have been some questions about timing. Rob, I think you mentioned November 2nd, that Monday or that weekend.
It's a whole week actually. People take whole days off in Australia just to celebrate the Melbourne Cup. It's like a public holiday.
Do they run? Is it the Everest? Do they run that weekend, or is that something separate? Is that in the spring? Is it the Everest? What? It's like I thought it was a $10 million race that's run in Australia. I may be mixing up things, but yeah. So it sounds like it kind of coordinates with the Breeders' Cup in the States, which we're looking at doing some things ourselves for that weekend. And so, I think that'll be great. We wanted to
make yourself a prize then for this weekend.
That's right.
No, and I think that's going to be really exciting. Like, I would love to be able to participate in this giveaway myself. Like, to be able to get an unraced legendary Zabo is pretty sweet. I will abstain, obviously, but no, I think that'll be really, really exciting. I mean, don't get me wrong. A legendary Finny being given away unraced with a rare coat is also really incredible. So I think whoever wins this horse is going to be pretty happy tonight.
Yeah. So, Rob, was there anything else that you wanted to cover tonight? I mean, I think we've hit on the site. We've talked through kind of some of the different things that you're building out, some of the things that we're, kind of going to work with you on going forward.
I would just say that, I'm very approachable. So follow me on Twitter or contact me through the site, or I'll try and attend some more of these streams. And if there's anything that you particularly like in my stable and you want to breed with it, then just let me know. I've got a kind of reservation list that I manage. I usually go for minimum breeding fees plus about 10%. That's my kind of rule of thumb. Bit more on super rares if I haven't got them reserved for myself. And but we can always cut a deal, right? There's always something to be done. And the core principle here is let's get some good blood out into the let's find out where the good blood is and then get it out into the community.
That's right.
Yeah. And I can attest to the fact that Rob is, like, even before we knew each other and before we had, chatted a bunch, that he was always very easy to work with for someone that he did not know. And I just kind of like randomly messaged him. So I think that, if you have the opportunity.
Time, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was begging. That's what it was. Yeah, it's like, please, but all that to say that, if you reach out to Rob, he's very reasonable to deal with.
Yeah, that's right.
So I did post a link to the giveaway again in the comments. If you want to give it maybe 2 more minutes for people to sign up, if anybody hasn't signed up already, you have to be in stream to. I just posted his Twitter. It's the Genesis Stables one. And you have to be in the stream to collect the prize. So when we do run the randomizer and pick someone, if you're not here, we'll wait 30 seconds, or maybe a little bit longer than that, like 2 minutes or a minute. And if you don't collect, then we're going to re-roll it again. And again, I just wanted to say, thank you so much for coming on the stream, Rob. It's great, one, to have you out here and to get perspective on what it's like to be around Zed for such a long time, and also to be able to show everyone the site and kind of talk about what you're trying to do for the community.
Yeah.
And again, we really appreciate you also collaborating with us specifically. I think that's going to be great going forward.
Yeah, and as far as that goes, you know, our Discord is linked down below. So if you're not already in the Discord, go ahead and join. You know, Rob's in the Discord, and then obviously he's got this separate site that he's building out, and so you'll start to see more of that being developed. And we'll post things to Discord, and we'll announce things there as different, you know, as we go through different things. So, Rob, with that, do we want to go ahead and get the giveaway started?
Well, they're still coming in fast and furious.
Okay.
So give me a moment. How are you guys going to do it? Are you just going to randomize those on the stream?
Yeah.
So what we'll do is there's a separate command that we'll create, and it'll be Genesis stable. So just once you're caught up with the signups, let me know. And so the only thing, guys, we'll give you the command in chat, and then you'll have to sign up in chat, and then we'll match your Twitch username to the one that you signed up with for Rob's site for the deals and the emails that he's going to send out about his site. So
yeah, Retro's going to try and win the horse so he can give it away on his stream.
That's right. So, well, Rob, just let me know when you feel like you're getting caught up, and then we'll.
I'm 10 behind. I was 2 behind. I'm 10 behind now.
Oh my!
So it's growing.
Yeah, you got something else to talk about while we
Yeah, I mean, the glitch tournament started today, and obviously we have some issues with, you know, the race generation and the stability of the site, but it seems to be really smooth right now. So if you guys haven't seen the zombie tournaments yet, you should really check them out. They're a lot of fun, great engagement. We talked about it on the weekend with a stream. Really great guys, and that's a lot of fun. So there's been some interesting, you know, the glitch tournament is really interesting in general, I think. Just the scoring, and it's going to be, I think it's one of those tournaments that you're going to see a lot of movement on the leaderboard as the days go on. Awesome, man. Yeah, thank you. Not going to argue that he's the one that I did the deal with to get the Rainbow Finny tokens, and he was really, really, again, there's so many good people I find in the ZED community. I think it gets lost in the shuffle sometimes just how great a lot of the individuals are. So yeah, that was a really, really good deal. We've got 2 horses. We had 2 Finnies in the tournament that we're running, so we really appreciate that. Yeah, the points for round 2 look pretty interesting. That's going to be yeah, exactly. So you're going to have to really be sure of your horse, because you know, it's one of those things. It's not like, you know, they say like shoot for the stars or shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll land in the stars or something like that. It's more like shoot for the moon. If you miss, you're going to get hit by a comet. So, but yeah, no, I think that there's a lot of great things going on around ZED and within the community in general. So, this newest adventure with Rob is just another great example of, you know, how strong, and I think something that maybe isn't touched on enough, because I think it's just that the more the community grows, the better it is for everyone, right? So
I'm going to post the link one more time because we had a few people asking about it. So final call there. Sorry, Rob, we're going to blow you up one more time.
But Aquapuck, yeah, by the way, congratulations on Wavelength. That is, we were actually talking about that horse earlier today in Discord. It looks amazing, like really, really cool. And that it's a Buren legendary. Just, you love to see it. Is it legendary?
I think so. Who were we running against, or what race was that?
I think it beat Honey Money, didn't it?
I think that's, yeah. I called it at like 1,600 meters. I was like, that horse is winning. So, and it just it went. So.
And it's a beautiful color. Electric violet is, you know, that's one of our XYZ colors. You can see it in the horse. It's kind of the main color there. Electric violet is one of my favorite.
Yeah, that's our theme color. That's right. It's our main.
Oh, it beat Hambone too. Wow, that's huge. That's huge. Yeah, Wavelength is looking pretty awesome. Congratulations on that, man.
So yeah, so just to confirm, I dropped the link in a couple minutes ago. If you sign up there with your Twitch username, we're going to do a separate command here in another minute or two. And then you'll basically enter that command. It'll be ! something, and we'll let you know when that starts. We'll run that for a couple minutes, and then we'll spin the wheel.
What do you think, Rob? What do you want the command to be? ! Sharkyrob! ! Great White!
Genesis.
Genesis.
Just Genesis. Okay.
Yeah, just Genesis.
All right. It'll be ! Genesis when we say to go. Are you all caught up? Yeah, ! something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. Well, I'm caught up. I don't know whether you're going to cross-reference it against our list, are you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I think what we'll do is we'll do the cutoff.
Why don't we say stop now then?
We're going to do the cutoff now, so no more entries into the giveaway. I think David's going to set up the command. And did you want to do that now?
Yeah, I just started it. So guys, put ! Genesis into chat.
Like this?
Yep. Now CJ's going to win.
If I win, we'll re-roll it, okay? I'm just trying to show people how to do it. So get all those in. And so once we're open for a little while,
we'll let that run for 2 minutes.
Okay.
And we'll spin the wheel.
Dave, 2 minutes, and then we'll do the giveaway. I'm excited about this one, man. I know we've given a few horses away in the past, but like a legendary Finny is super cool, especially rare coat, unraced. People love their unraced horses. You know how I feel about unraced horses, but people love their unraced horses, and and this is just kind of like you said, it's like a teaser, because to be giving away a legendary Zavo, I guess that'll be like 3 or 4 weeks from now. I think that's immense. That's going to be super fun.
Sean, that's right. We were talking about the zombie tournaments earlier. So they did announce a schedule update. I think they've kind of honed in on when they're going to mint the cards. This is assuming that a lot of you guys caught our stream over the weekend, but they're going to mint the cards for the horse that you choose, and then and then the maiden tournament will be, I believe, in 2 weeks now, starting with the maiden, a short training period, and then jump into the actual competition. So keep an eye out for that in the zombie Discord, and it should be great. Yeah, and if you guys, if whoever wins this one, if they've got if they don't have another horse to race, or if they want to race this one, it'll be perfect for that competition. So,
yeah, the maiden's going to be super fun. I'm actually super undisciplined. I had 6 unraced horses that I had bred, and they were just sitting, and I actually had to move them to another stable, so I wasn't looking at them. And I just got bored and raced them all yesterday or the day before. I can't remember which day it was, but yeah.
I think I'm going to give you some horses to race on my behalf. I think that's probably the way I need to do it.
In the maiden tournament? Let's do it.
Any tournament, yeah. I'm going to rent out my horses for people who want to race them, because there's no point in having them languishing in the stable doing nothing.
Sounds good to me. Let's get it done.
All right, so
we've
10 seconds.
We've got 72 entries, which is pretty 70 entries rather. Pretty cool.
Wow, nice. How are we doing for the? Are we going to wrap up the entries here?
Yeah. So I'm going to call time. We're going to go ahead and hit draw, and the wheel is officially spinning.
Oh. Hey, Mr. Marshy. Mr. Marshy, are you still here?
More importantly, did he sign up?
Yeah.
He did. Okay.
Yeah, that's good. That's good news. Mr. Marshy.
Mr. Marshy, go ahead and if you can speak up in chat.
Hey, there he is.
Here we go. There we go. Awesome.
Yeah, congratulations on the win.
Did he sign up though? Oh yeah, he's number 5 on our list.
Number 5, early on.
Wow, you're one of the first people to sign up. Congratulations.
So, Rob, how do you want to do this? Do you want to send the horse to one of us, and then we can coordinate on our end, or
if you'd like to, I'll transfer it to one of you guys, and then you can hand it on to Mr. Marshy.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you if you want us to do it that way. Either way, that's.
Or I can contact him directly. How would he? Why don't we ask Mr. Marshy how he'd like to be? Yeah,
if you want to contact him directly, especially since it's going to be since you sign up through your site and you'll have his information. Mr. Marshy, right?
I'll make contact over Discord, and then we'll arrange a transfer. I'll just leave the wallet, the public key, and the wallet address, and I'll send the horse straight away.
Yeah, that's awesome. That must be really exciting. Do we know Mr. Marshy? Is this you got a?
What's his stable?
So what's your stable name, Mr. Marshy? If you don't mind us asking. Watch, it's going to be someone with like 100 Z1s.
It's Bob. It's Bob.
Yeah, that's right. It's Bob. He's in there.
I think he's down to about 40 Z1s now, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he just had that big sale, right?
Yeah, only 40.
You should rib him a little bit that he wouldn't give you this as aggressive as yours, though.
I know. I constantly rib him.
Kukoski Racing.
Kukoski. Awesome. I'll be in touch.
Great. So, Rob, anything else? I know we're catching you in the middle of the day, but anything else you wanted to call out?
No, it's been great fun, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, thanks for joining tonight. Really appreciate it. Your website looks great, and we look forward to working with you on ranking your breeders and working with our community to kind of add value for everybody. So
thanks
man.
Guys.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for coming by, Rob.
Bye.
All right.
See ya. All right, guys. So, hope that was as cool for you as it was for us, having an OG on and talking through everything that we talked through. Obviously the giveaway and his site are interesting things. Again, we're not really getting anything outside of kind of him working with our community in our Discord, with people to really add value for our community. And so, definitely take advantage of that.
I was just gonna say that's the main thing for having Rob Brown. It's like we're not taking anything, and we're not benefiting from like being able to work with him, but mostly it's going to be the benefits that the community gets from being able to access special sales and giveaways and being able to work with him for breeding and stuff like that is going to be. I think that's a really nice resource to have in this environment. So. Yep. And I highly encourage anyone to make use of it if you can and are able to.
Absolutely. And so what we wanted to do is, obviously we lost Rob. We talked through a lot of his site, but we also covered a little bit on speed and a little bit on fatigue earlier. We're not running super late like we are sometimes. So we wanted to open it up. And if anybody has questions about racing or if anybody has questions about anything, we wanted to open that up for a little while, at least, to kind of walk through questions. So Rob,
if anybody,
man.
Awesome to have you on, Rob. And like I said, I think with your permission, obviously we're gonna kind of cut that part where you're telling kind of your story about ZED and giving that extra perspective for just how early in the game we really are and how far ahead ZED is of everybody else is nice to have. So if anybody has any questions, we're here for that. I'm actually probably going to have to take off shortly. So David might be able to stick around for anything that anybody needs, but the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow.
African or European. So no, Dragnet, you actually asked or dropped me an article yesterday, and I didn't
24 miles per hour.
How many races? Enough races to know you got glue. Depends.
That's actually a good question.
It depends.
Who's the best 1200 meter horse in the game? You know the answer to that, my blood. I didn't have to Google it. I just know that information. It's encyclopedic.
It's Y2K, right?
Yeah. The best 1200 meter horse in the game is
Mirajo.
Yeah. I think it's a horse named. I think it's actually a super coat, right? Ray Del Mundo, is that right?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, take care, Retro. Nice to see you, man. Thanks for coming out. Really appreciate it. What I was going to say was.
So on the glue question, I mean, I think that's a good one to answer.
Yeah, and it's an interesting question too, because a lot of people felt like with the changes from odds to fire that you were going to have to do a ton more discovery and all that stuff. I think that you might have to do a little bit of extra discovery, but if you're not pulling fire anywhere, between the first, I mean, you could probably tell within the first 3 races, really, if you have glue, or I would say the first 4 races if you include the Griffey, because if you just go into 4 races and get no fire at each end and in the middle at $2.50 races, then your horse is probably not that great, right?
I think it still depends on the competition, right? I mean, if we're talking about 250 class 5 races, probably, but if you're talking about anything else, even those class 5 races, I mean, if you look at some of the highest variance horses in the game, they're main event, Desert Rose, they're not pulling more than 40% fire in any distance. So, and they're not pulling fire in races that they probably are one of the stronger horses and the most likely to win, right? So, I think there are a lot of horses you can see in 4 to 6 races, kind of get a feel for, okay, well, if I'm looking at this race and all these horses are averaging less than 30% fire, 40% flames, and and you're not, and you're getting middle finishes, or you're not getting kind of high variance finishes, then you probably do. I still think it's worth running most horses 8, 10, 12 times at least, just in 250s. I don't think you need to run more than that unless you have really good performance in your first 4 or 6 races. So kind of the opposite of what you were. But I don't think there's that much of a difference between 4 races and 12 races, so
yeah, I mean,
right.
I feel like I think it also depends very much on how comfortable you are with your evaluations of horses, how much you know the fields that you're running in. And I think part of what fire did that odds didn't do is when you do get fire, you don't really necessarily know how strong that horse is, even when you have it, right? Like you can win a race that maybe you would have had low odds in, but you have fire because of a combination of base ability and different variance or distance preference. So I think once you do start getting fire, then it becomes another layer of discovery. Like, okay, so you do get fire, which means you have the ability to finish in the top 3 in some races, and like how strong are you? And then you have to kind of like build up to that. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I do think that there should be a level of discovery in the game that exists with all horses. Like, I don't think that you should know within your first race whether your horse is a donkey or not. Like, I think that fire, personally, I really like fire. I think it gives you a lot of information, but I think it also kind of keeps the mystery alive a little bit.
We do still need some sort of ranking system, though, ways to stack horses up head to head and understand kind of how they're running in less than 30 or 50 races, because there are some horses that it's really hard to figure them out. They'll get a lot of flames. It's really hard to figure out kind of where they stack up. So another question here was how to know the variance. So high variance horses tend to finish first and last a lot. Haku has a U percentage rating that you can use. And then so it's not necessarily easy to figure out in the first 10 or 15 races, but if you do have a horse that's competitive, that's won or finished top 3 a few times, and maybe finished bottom 3 a couple times in your first 10 or 15 races, then it's probably a horse that you can continue racing and seeing. And so high variance horses are going to tend to be U-shaped horses, and so again, just because you're not pulling flames, if you're still winning or finishing bottom 3, more than once in a blue moon, then you can still have a pretty good horse. So,
and I think something to add on to that is it is important to make the distinction that just because your horse has a U pattern, what we're talking about is a natural U, so like within the same distance. Because with distance preference, you'll end up getting the U pattern, but they're not necessarily high variance horses. They just have really positive or negative distance preference. The other thing is a really good indication that something that shows a really high correlation between high variance horses is if you do get fire and you finish in the bottom 3. So if you get fire and you finish in the bottom 3, that kind of shows like you were expected to finish in the top 3. But if you finish in the bottom 3, then that's usually a really good indicator that you have high variance.
Or if it's one of the extreme distances, you could have high distance preference with a negative roll. But it tends to show that you have something on top of the base ability of the racer, right? So,
yep. Lucky heroes. Oh, sorry.
Next question. So, Dragnet, I didn't get a chance to read that article about real life breeding and genetics, but I'll definitely take a look and get back to you on that, man. So Yo-Yo was asking about horses spooking. And so what I think there's still a little bit of fuzziness around it. But the reason that you saw those odds increase significantly a lot of times the horses would finish similarly, right? So your lower odds horse would finish first or third or 11th, and then your very high odds horse would finish 1 or 2 spots away from it on either side. And the reason for that is because they have similar profiles, but one has and likely low variance. Right. I think, CJ, we've kind of come back to lower variance, but slightly different distance preferences, so that the one with the higher distance preference and the comparable variance is always going to finish ahead of the one with the slightly lower distance preference. And so that's why you see those huge spikes in odds, because that second horse is never going to beat that first horse. It'll always finish kind of one or 2 spots below, and that's only for a subset. A lot of times, if you see horse odds going from 12 to 20 to 40, that just means that it's in a distance preference race, and they're running against a horse with a much higher distance preference. So you can't really do that now without odds. But if you do see a horse that finishes second or third a lot, doesn't win a ton of races at a short or long distance, that horse will likely be a horse with slightly less distance preference than some of the strongest horses. So, CJ, did you have anything to add there?
Yeah, so I just think I think it's important to touch on the fact that like the quote unquote spook factor is just a byproduct of the way that distance preference works. So like David was saying, you have horses that have a lot of distance preference, but not a lot of variance, because as soon as you introduce variance, those spikes are going to be a lot lower. You're still going to get them, but there's actually a chance that once you have variance involved, that a weaker distance preference horse can beat a stronger distance preference horse if the rolls kind of like fall in their favor. But what you're seeing with it, like what David was saying, what you're seeing with spook horses is just they both have probably a similarly low level of variance and a very similar level of distance preference, but like the horse with the stronger distance preference will almost always finish ahead of the horse with less distance preference. And because of the secondary layer of roles that are involved, like the global distance preference role that we believe exists in the racing algorithm, if you get a negative roll, it will also always finish below when you get the negative roll.
So I'm going to come back, but not going to argue that that's kind of the similar theory here. There are certain distances where you can pull at the same distance. You can pull, lower odds and then pull 40s like we were talking about. But more often than not, Bexel, man, really appreciate the 10 gifted.
Thanks, Bex.
Yeah. But the key here is it depends on the strength of the Griffin race. I think some people were talking. I think Snooze said it right after. So if you have a low Z Genesis or any sort of Genesis or any low Z Legendary that's in there against Z30 exclusives and elites and whatever, then that horse is going to tend to pull quote unquote better odds in the race or get flames, and then not maintain that after the Griffin. And that's one reason that we argue that while flames and Griffin races can tell you a lot, they're not indicative or they don't guarantee that you have a good horse. It's important to look at, as always, the other horses in the race and do your research on that. So CJ,
and I think something important to touch on about that is that the more you understand about how odds work and how fire works, the better you can kind of like rationalize what's happening afterwards, right? So really what odds are just telling you is your chance to win. It doesn't necessarily tell you how strong your horse is in a vacuum against, because every race that they're in it's always going to be relative to the other horses in the race. So really what it means is that if your horse pulls 2 odds in a race, it just means that all those other horses are so much weaker than it that they probably have a much lower chance to win. And so like if you're pulling 45 or 40 odds, and I'm pretty sure there's never been a horse that's won with odds of 35 or lower or higher, it's just because the max range of whatever your ability is, plus your variance, plus your distance preference, will never get high enough to pass the low point of another horse in the race. So if you understand that that's how it works, and in the case with distance preference horses, because of the way distance preference works and because of how rolls work with distance preference, then you won't ever be able to beat the horse that's, say, higher up on the chain of distance preference, so your odds will get blown up. And somebody also had and this kind of like is part of the same discussion, somebody also had a question about what a spike horse is. And all a spike horse is a horse that at 1600, because there is no distance preference, has really high odds.
When we had odds,
and
right?
When we had odds.
Or a horse that never pulls flames at 1600.
Yeah, at 1600, because it has almost no variance or no variance. And without variance, its odds will spike because its performance is always the same and it can't necessarily reach the heights of other horses. But also when they do race against other long distance or short distance specialists, their odds will spike if they race against a horse that has a higher level of distance preference. Yeah, Golden Glow, what's going on, man?
Yeah, what's going on, man? Let's see. So AC Wolf, yeah, they announced yesterday evening, a little over 24 hours ago, that I think they're having some sort of issue with free races, and so they're going to bring that back as soon as possible. But they haven't given us as much detail as they have on their general racing infrastructure. So hoping to see those back sooner than later. But they definitely didn't take them away. They'll come back whenever they can kind of fix the system. So
there's another great question there from I don't know. I think it's Dodo Lee West. If you wanted to pull that up.
Yep.
And I don't know, did you want to kind of go into that first, or you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased because I very rarely run 250s to down class. So I mean, I know a lot of people do it, and it works for some horses. But you know, it's only if it's at your most extreme distances, right? Is the other thing. So your thousands, your 1200s, your 2200s, 2400s. The middle distances aren't nearly as noisy. But I think the broader point is that you get a wider range of horses in the races, right? So, but CJ, what were you gonna say? I feel like you
Yeah,
had
and all I was going to say is just that I think the biggest issue with $2.50 races is that the level of competition varies so much.
Yeah.
And what I would say as a general rule is you can get a ton of information from any race if you know the competition that's in it. So $250 races are typically where a lot of horses are going through discovery, like you're saying. A lot of horses are downclassing at the extremes. Some horses use like 15 or 1400 and 1800 to try and downclass, and they do it somewhat successfully. But I think what you see is that, David was talking about his strategy for downclassing, where he uses like say $5 races instead of $2.50s. And the more comfortable you become with knowing the competition that you're running against and knowing the strongest horses that are in kind of like your realm of competition, you can kind of pick your races a little easier. So for example, if you are, let's take LBJ Goat and Mula Mula, for example. Those are two like the strongest horses in the game at 2400, maybe the strongest. They're not, if they're both running in a 1000 meter $2.50, the chances of any other horse finishing in the bottom two relative to them is very low because of the way the distance preference works. So then maybe you would rather look at a 1200 or a $5 1000 meter, because you're just going to I find, especially as you go up in buy-in,
Yep.
the chances of you finishing lower is better because usually the other horses in that race are trying to win. So you just kind of have to look at it from like a cost perspective.
Yep.
But as I kind of coming back to the original question, yes, I do think that $2.50 races are typically very noisy because that's where you have the widest variety of fields available. But I have seen many $2.50 races that, sometimes you run into a strong horse and it's in its early phase and you have like relative odds that you can compare, and it can give you good information still. So I think digging into races is always important.
Yeah. So I wanted to hit these two pretty quickly. There were a couple questions about, calling themselves out as noobs. So iOS Slim, hopefully you're still here. I know it's been about 15 minutes since you asked this question, but we're not going to go into a ton of detail. I'd say hop into our Discord and join the, post the question to the beginner chat. I would say that we believe, again, not financial advice on talking about the market or talking about what to buy, but there's a lot of value in legendary horses right now, especially Zabo and Finny legendaries, where they can be good racers or good breeders, and you kind of have to do your research, but the prices are significantly lower than they have been in the past. Floors are just above breeding costs for some of these, and so you can find some good deals there. And then as far as the rest of the strategy, it's really just kind of deciding what you want to do with your stable and figuring out what your budget is. But it's a lot easier to answer off stream. So if you want to hop into our Discord there, CJ, I don't know if you had any quick questions on that question or quick comment.
No, I was just going to say, I would agree with you that there's a lot of really good value in legendaries right now. The market is low, so I would never tell you to go out and buy something or buy at a certain point. We don't offer financial advice. I don't know why we always have to say that, but it's just something that we say. But for me, if I had the capital, I would be buying stuff up right now, because I think that we're kind of at, especially for like the legendary and Genesis level, because there's always going to be a much higher production rate of exclusive plus than there is, legendary, and obviously you can't make any more Genesis. So if those are low and the price is right, those are always good buys.
You
But
can find good deals. You can find good deals on exclusive and elites, but
yeah, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, you can still have really good exclusive and elite bred horses. It just takes a little bit more digging to find the right ones. But further to what David said, any new players, I think we are going to work on something of like an onboarding tutorial for new players, and our maybe like a top 10 tips for new players type thing, that, maybe that'll be part of the articles that we bring onto Rob's site that people can access. But just further to what David was saying, if you want to come into the XYZ Discord or even shoot us you don't have to, but I mean, it's just easier for us to kind of have that broader conversation there. But you're always welcome to shoot us a DM on Discord, and we're happy to help. We always reply to people and help them as much as possible.
Yep. And then the other kind of quote unquote noob question was about data. So the ZED odds data, I'm not sure if you're referring specifically to the Cryptog data dump.
Yeah, sounds like it.
But if you are, again, I'm usually working off of a subset or the horse database or the race database, or some sort of data that we have pulled for us. I'm a big Excel junkie, but the feedback that we've seen is if you do Python and Pandas together, that's the best way to work with the Cryptog Excel files, especially the odds data. So, but again, that's another one. Hop in our Discord, Cryptog and BG, who we work with on a lot of stats, kind of float around, and if one of us can't answer, one of them should get to your question at some point. So, all right, getting caught up. This is a interesting question, CJ. I think this lines up kind of with some of our racing streams, like the one we did a couple weeks ago. Do all distance preference horses have a negative preference at the opposite distance?
Yeah, and I think I already replied to him in chat, because I do think that's kind of like based on our theory and what we believe, that's kind of a cut and dry answer. Yes, I believe that, or we believe that distance preference works basically where you have the same amount of distance preference on the negative side, on the opposite side. So if you're a sprinter and you have, like, say 10 distance preference at 1,000, you'll have negative 10 at 2,200. 2,400 and 2,600 seem to be even further down the spectrum, and it almost looks like it's exponential in terms of how much stronger they get at those distances, which is why you see every long distance specialist running at 2,400 and 2,600 whenever it generates. But yes, we believe that it is an equal but opposite kind of situation in terms of strength.
And Yo-Yo, if you have any other questions, I can't remember if you hopped in our Discord or not, but jump in there. I know we kind of covered your question earlier, but hop in there with any follow-ups for sure. And looks like iOS Slim did the same. Oh, there we go. Mr. Marshy.
I had to take
Mr. Marshy entered the giveaway horse into a Griffey and got flames. So awesome. Congrats, man. Hopefully it'll continue to perform for you. So Golden Glow, nice. We'll definitely have to talk about that and see if we can kind of model that in the data. Because CJ and I have definitely talked about that kind of socket theory and certain parents having the ability to pass it down, but that contract is the previous contract is out there and was a relatively simple calculation. So we'll have to compare notes and leverage BG to see if we can see what the data looks like, figure out against his big data dump that he has. But I think that's it as far as the questions go. I know CJ had to jump on a call. Didn't kick him off the stream, but really appreciate you guys you guys joining us tonight. Rob, I see you're still around. Glad to see you stuck around, and again, look forward to working with you a little bit. And we'll talk more about the Breeders' Cup and Melbourne Cup giveaways. And appreciate you guys joining us tonight. And let me see if anybody's online. Looks like Sean is just kicking off, so we're just catching him. So we're going to go ahead and kick you guys over to him. We've got a pretty good crew tonight, so figure we'll go ahead and do that. CJ, I was telling the questions have calmed down a little bit, so I was going to kick everybody over to Sean versus All for that high energy stream with the racing and gambling that he's got going on. I think you're on mute still.
I think like if anybody needs a little energy injection, stick around and Sean will give it to you. He's a good guy. So
that's right. So we're gonna go ahead and get this raid started. I think they're just booting up. Again, thanks everybody for joining. Hope you enjoyed the giveaway. Look forward to seeing you guys next week. We might do a racing pop-up. We'll see. Keep an eye out for that. We'll announce it on Twitter. But I'm going to go ahead and start this raid. Oh, that didn't work. Hold on a second.
It says that we're raiding.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. It's probably going to kick over here in a second now. But enjoy that stream.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, for coming out. Really appreciate it.